It was rigged. There's no question about it. The ABC News presidential debate was rigged. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, a lot of news over the weekend, but one of the big stories, and I put it up on X last night, is that now there is absolutely no question about it. The infamous debate moderated by Lindsay Davis and David Muir of ABC News was clearly rigged in favor of Kamala Harris. And here is now, my friends, the bombshell affidavit that was signed by an ABC News staffer who remains anonymous. Now, this is what is fascinating about all of this. This ABC News staffer, someone at the network with intimate knowledge of what took place, signed an affidavit, and this is very important, and then mailed it out to her lawyer before the debate ever took place. So, in other words, she's not just saying, I saw it, and now she's blowing the whistle on it. She's saying, I saw it, blowing the whistle on it, and here's what's going to happen at the debate. And she sent this affidavit out, again, before that infamous debate took place. And here is exactly now what she is now claiming, and I believe her. This whistleblower is 1,000% credible. Why? Because everything she predicted would happen, happened. So, according now to this ABC News whistleblower, number one, Kamala Harris was given sample questions by ABC News that were, as she puts it, appeared almost exactly the same as the questions that were asked during the actual debate. In other words, they will resemble, she said, look, the sample questions will resemble very closely what they're going to ask her at the debate. So essentially, she had the questions ahead of time. And not only did she have the questions ahead of time, but they gave it to her in enough advance time so that she could prep and have scripted answers again and again and again. But there's more. There's so much more. According to this bombshell affidavit, the whistleblower now says, listen to this, that Kamala's people specifically told David Muir and Lindsay Davis, ABC News, to not ask questions about specific topics, that certain topics were off limits. And there were several, but the one in particular that they were adamant on is about her brother-in-law, Kamala's brother-in-law, Tony West. You may ask, Jeff, who the hell is Tony West? He is married to Kamala's sister, Maya. He is the brother-in-law of Kamala through marriage, and that he's part also of an intimate part of her campaign. He is playing a key role in the campaign of Kamala Harris. He has now apparently been accused of embezzlement and fraud to the tune of millions and millions and millions of dollars. In other words, her family is doing exactly what the Biden family is doing, who did exactly what the Clintons did and what the Obamas did. Grift and fraud. Come in, it's pay to play, enrich your family members with kickbacks going, and not this time to the big guy, but to the big gal. And she said, please, whatever you do, Trump will crucify me on this issue. Do not ask about my brother-in-law, the sleazy brother-in-law. Furthermore, not only were the questions given to her ahead of time, Not only were they told certain topics must be off limits, which ABC News agreed to, but listen now to this. ABC News and Kamala Harris went back and forth in negotiations in which Kamala Harris's people urged ABC. ABC agreed to fact check Trump. In other words, or as they put it, to debate Trump under the guise of fact checking, but not to fact check Kamala. So in essence, they colluded. They had an arrangement. They had an agreement in which this would be 3-on-1. And as this person said in the affidavit, you will see at the debate, Trump will be constantly fact-checked, which turned out to be true. And that under the guise of fact-checking, the moderators, in fact, will start to debate and seek to undermine Trump, but they will never fact-check Kamala. And this person says, not only is this blatantly unfair, not only is this blatantly election interference, but also it violates every ethics of any news organization. But furthermore, according to ABC News, they said that there must be negotiations, if any, with one campaign. It must be open and transparent to the other campaign. The Trump campaign never knew of their intention to be fact-checked, while Kamala would not be fact-checked. That the moderators, in effect, would be assistants, the wingmen and the wingwomen of Kamala Harris against Trump. And so, as she put it, they're going to make the debate so biased, so one-sided, so blatantly unfair that A, it's going to undermine the integrity of ABC News. B, most importantly, it will try to have a direct impact on the election. Now, there are some brave journalists who are trying to get answers from ABC News about the affidavit, about the whistleblower, about all of the explosive allegations and accusations in that affidavit, which, by the way, is signed. ABC News has issued a non-denial denial. So now you know they're guilty. Because first, they came out and said this is all much ado about nothing. Finally, there was more pressure, saying, well, I'm sorry, could you at least answer the specifics in the affidavit? To which ABC News then said, and here's the rub, we never sent the questions, the actual questions asked at the debate, to either Kamala Harris and her campaign or to Donald Trump and his campaign. And we considered this matter closed. Now, everybody's wondering, boy, they seem really eager to move beyond this story. But you're not answering the fundamental accusations. Were sample questions given? The whistleblower never alleged they were the exact identical questions. What she said was sample questions that will resemble very closely the actual questions were given to Kamala and to her campaign. ABC News will not address this issue. You know why? Because they're guilty. It's obvious. As for them fact-checking Trump and not fact-checking Kamala, it happened at the debate. The moderators acting as co-debaters against Trump, that happened at the debate. Not asking about Tony West and the countless millions that he embezzled and his ties to the Kamala Harris campaign, never asked the question. Never mind anything else deeply embarrassing about Kamala or anything resulting in or affecting her, the corruption and the fraud that has plagued her entire career. In other words, many key areas about Kamala's background were deliberately not asked. So, as many people are pointing out, the fact that the affidavit was mailed before the debate, signed before the debate, And then we saw what happened at the debate vindicates everything she said was going to happen. Now, as I pointed out on X, and I want to repeat this, the debate was rigged. And it was rigged 6 ways to Sunday. Where is Congress? This woman needs to be put under oath. Her story needs to be told to the entire country. ABC News executives need to be put under oath. David Murr needs to be put under oath. Lindsey Davis needs to be put under oath. And people in the Kamala Harris campaign must be put under oath. We want the emails. We want the text messages. We want the correspondence. We want it all. Because, my friends, what they did was illegal. It wasn't just direct election interference. The media colluded with Harris, and they engaged in actual crimes. My question now to you, what should the Trump campaign do? And is it time for Congress to investigate? Your calls next. Trump needs to drive this story now and drive it hard. Okay, it is 6:20 now on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to give a big hat tip there's many now that have come out and broken this story, but one of the big ones is Adam Mill, M-I-L-L, from a magazine that I used to work at, Chronicles, a magazine of American culture. It's a conservative magazine. I used to work there before I went to the Washington Times, and it's an excellent magazine. I mean, I don't agree with them on everything, obviously. I don't agree with any magazine on everything, but they're an absolutely excellent, excellent magazine. And anyway, so according to Adam Mill, in a brilliant piece, so here is the affidavit. The affidavit is now online by an anonymous ABC employee, signed. Anyway, so, and it was again sent prior to the debate. So the whistleblower signed a copy of the affidavit and mailed it before the debate to her lawyer. So this affidavit is saying, here's what they agreed to, and here is exactly what's going to happen at the ABC News presidential debate. So one of them was that sample questions were given to the Harris campaign that, as she put it, would resemble and did resemble the actual debate questions. Furthermore, that there were discussions between the Harris campaign and the moderators, specifically, that they would be debating Trump. It would be 3-on-1, under the guise of quote-unquote fact-checking. Quote, here's from the affidavit. It was agreed that Donald Trump would be subjected to fact-checking during the debate, while Kamala Harris would not face comparable scrutiny, the affidavit reads. It continues, quote, in fact, Harris campaign required assurance that Donald Trump would be fact-checked. And this was done via multiple communications with the Harris campaign, whereas the Trump campaign was not included in the negotiations. To my understanding, any rules, negotiations, and conversations pertaining to the debate should have had both the Trump and Harris campaign involved. Now, completely right. I mean, 1,000% correct. Now, again, I know I've said this multiple times. This is what makes this affidavit, to me, so devastating. It was signed and then mailed before the debate, saying this is what will happen. And it happened. Everything happened. Trump was fact-checked, quote-unquote fact-checked. Really, they lied about him repeatedly. Kamala, never. Certain topics, which were kind of bizarre, because there's the Tony West allegations have been huge against Kamala Harris. This is her brother-in-law, accused of embezzling millions of dollars, engaged in all kinds of fraud, He's now directly tied to her campaign. In fact, the New York Times did a huge profile piece on Tony West and going on about how he's all over her campaign. That her sister and Tony West, the husband of Kamala's sister, are two of the key players running most of her campaign. And that was never asked. Other questions were never asked. Anyway, so, and on it went. Now, so ABC News has been evading. They have been giving non-denial denials. And in fact, what is noteworthy, as Adam Mill points out in his piece, is that ABC News issued a statement by an unidentified spokesman. So the person who issued the statement on behalf of ABC News won't even put his or her name to the statement. And if you notice, they're not doing any, they didn't address any of the key factual allegations. They're just doing the whole, hey, we have a statement, here's the statement. The statement says we never directly gave the actual questions to Harris and the campaign, to Trump and his campaign. Well, that's not the allegation. They're being evasive, they're dodging, and I'll tell you why they're being evasive and they're dodging. Because ABC News illegally colluded with the Harris campaign to rig the debate against Donald Trump. And if you remember, we all said that the day after the debate. We said, it's just so obvious they gave her the questions ahead of time. The way she was so scripted, the way she could anticipate every question that was going to be asked. How they kept coordinating David Murr, Lindsey Davis, Kamala. How they even knew exactly what they were going to fact-check Trump on. I mean, it's so obvious. Now, many of you are rightly saying, and I agree with you, Jeff, but why have Congress investigate? I don't trust Congress. I don't trust the mealy-mouthed, yellow-livered, cowardly Republicans. I hear you. I'm not saying Congress is going to get, I'm not saying wait for a report from Congress, but get people under oath. Issue subpoenas. Let's see what they say with the cameras on them and in front of the microphone. This thing could be the biggest scandal of the election campaign. And if I'm Trump, I pound the table and say, we want all of the correspondence, all of the emails, everything released. 6:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, a couple lines are open if you want to jump on. I'm going to go to the phones very, very soon. You can text us 70470, 70470. This is from 781, and it's a doozy. Jeff, so when can we expect ABC to declare and pay the penalty for not disclosing as an in-kind campaign contribution to the Federal Election Commission? Answer, never. Obviously. I mean, this to me is unbelievable. This breaks campaign finance rules. I mean, I could go on and on and on. It was rigged, and now we know it was rigged. And if I'm Donald Trump, this is it. You've got her now. You've got her by the tonsils. Her people colluded with ABC News. And as Adam Mill points out, really in a very strong piece in Chronicles, this is part of the larger deception campaign against the American people by the Harris campaign and the media. They were the ones who overthrew Joe Biden. They were the ones who installed her in this secretive, undemocratic process to make her the nominee. And now, to ask her basic questions to know who are we electing as president. I think we have the right to know where she stands on basic issues and aspects about her record that need to be addressed and confronted. ABC News is continuing this deception campaign against the American people. They're trying to protect and cover up and hide who the real Kamala is. And they're trying to pass her off as somehow competent when we know she's blatantly incompetent. This woman couldn't even do a debate without direct assistance from ABC News. Now, big story over the weekend. So, in other words, to sum it up, ABC has been caught colluding with Kamala Harris. Now, if I'm Trump, if this thing breaks wide open, how the hell does Kamala survive this? She's so incompetent. Forget being in the White House. Forget having your finger on the nuclear button. This woman couldn't even do a straight-up debate without getting assistance and collaboration and collusion from her allies in the media. Now, as for doing another debate, Kamala Harris's people now see the polls are now tilting against her. I'm getting all these emails. I can't tell you how many. People are panicking, and they're blaming me. I don't know what I've done, but they're blaming me. And they're saying, Jeff, Trump's going to lose this thing. The polls are against him. He's going to lose. I'm like, I don't know what polls you're looking at. Here, the New York Times Siena poll. This is the New York Times. Okay, the Democrats' Bible. Trump pulling ahead now in Arizona and has a lead in both Georgia and North Carolina. And that's from a group, the New York Times, always oversamples Democrats. So Kamala's people are in trouble. Their internal polls show they're in trouble, and they know it. So Kamala's now, her campaign issued a challenge to Donald Trump. Over the weekend, they said, let's do one more debate on This Is CNN. So they want to go back to CNN. And they want to do it October 23rd, which is what is it, 13 days? Basically almost 2 weeks before the election. Here was Trump's response. And I want all of you to weigh in on this. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Here is now what Trump said at a raucous rally in North Carolina about Kamala's challenge for one more debate near the end of October on CNN. Roll cut 16, Mike.
ABC was 3-on-1, but I was given credit for having done a very, very good job. I appreciate that. We did a great job. It was 3-on-1. The problem with another debate is that it's just too late. Voting has already started. She's had her chance to do it with Fox. You know, Fox invited us on, and I waited, and they turned it down, but now she wants to do a debate right before the election with CNN because she's losing badly. You know, it's like a fighter. She sees the pulse, she sees what's happening, she's losing badly, but it's like a fighter who goes into the ring and gets knocked out. The first thing he says is, I want a rematch.
Well, in other words, he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it, and you heard part of his reasons. He says, and it's true, by October 23rd, over half the American electorate will have voted because of early voting and mail-in voting. So he's basically saying, why bother? Half the country at a minimum will have voted. The other reason he gave, and I agree with him completely, is that CNN took such blowback, they took such a pounding, such criticism from other media outlets for being semi-fair to Trump in that infamous debate with Joe Biden, that the pressure on them is going to be immense to do to him what ABC News tried to do. In other words, set up an ambush for him, do another 3-on-1, and try to tilt this thing in favor of Kamala one more time. So he said, no, CNN is not going to be fair. They're going to be under tremendous pressure not to be fair. And my point is, in the wake of what we just found out now about ABC News, remember, this is the same CNN. When Donna Brazile, by the way, Brazile worked for both ABC and CNN. Okay, so you can see how the ethics of these so-called news networks. She was the one who infamously gave the questions to Hillary Clinton before her debate with Bernie Sanders. So this idea of the networks giving questions ahead of time to the candidates, it's nothing new. That's how sleazy and corrupt these people are. So I'm thinking, I'm not trusting CNN with a fair debate. No way. Especially in light now of the stunning revelations and what's been unearthed with ABC News. So unless it's Fox News or Newsmax or some neutral platform on X, Trump is leading in the polls. Her campaign is sinking. Why would you do another debate? So it can be 3-on-1 again? So they could rig it again? So they could try to embarrass and humiliate Trump again? No. After this, the media has no credibility whatsoever. And in particular, to me, you may agree, you may disagree, they have no right to conduct any more debates. From this point forward, I'm looking at ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, I don't care, take your pick, NPR, PBS. I'm sorry. You have been so biased, so propagandizing against Trump. You have been so blatantly partisan that you cannot be trusted to ever do another presidential debate again. Now, this to me is ABC Gate. Until we get to the bottom of this, and until people are fired and careers are destroyed, especially David Murr and Lindsey Davis, then I'm sorry, we can never have a debate again with these networks as the moderators. Because they're in the tank for the Democrats. This wasn't a debate. That was a journalistic assassination attempt. And you have this explosive whistleblower now who has come out and said, yeah, the whole thing was set up between Kamala and ABC News. And their job was to take down Trump. So if I'm Donald Trump, this is the scandal that will bury her and the fake news media once and for all. I jump all over this baby and pound it and pound it and pound it and pound it. And put ABC News right on the spot and demand that Republicans hold hearings right now. Televised hearings. Issue subpoenas. They don't show up, contempt of Congress. And then the ABC News will have egg all over its face. What are you hiding for? What are you stonewalling? Why? I want David Murr under oath. I want Lindsey Davis under oath. I want her producers under oath. And I want all of this correspondence and emails to the public. We can all see that this was done in the dark and behind Trump's back. So, my question to you, double-barreled question. Number one, Trump now says he will no longer do any more debates. He will not do the CNN debate that Kamala Harris challenged him to in late October. He says it's way too late. People will have, half the country will have voted, and it's going to be unfair and rigged the way ABC News was. So why bother? So, was Trump right or wrong to not debate Kamala? And number two, ABC Gate. Is it time for Congress to investigate and get to the truth of what really happened? Your calls next. 6:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from Larry on Messenger. Question to Kamala Harris. Did you assist Kamala Harris question to ABC News. Did you assist Kamala Harris during the debate? ABC, we grew up middle class. Which is Kamala's answer to everything. I grew up in a middle-class family. Okay, let's go to Dave in the great state of Pennsylvania. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. How are you, buddy?
Good. Feeling much better. Thank you, Dave.
Good. Hey, Jeff, how about this? We bring the lying along with the middle class. You're going to be called the lying class. Hey, Jeff, first of all...
Dave, are you shocked? I mean, I know we all had our suspicions, but are you shocked now that this whistleblower is essentially confirmed what we all suspected, that they rigged that debate? It was all planned ahead of time?
Jeff, first of all, I'll answer you, but ABC stands for all bullcrap. That's what they stand for, buddy. And no, I'm not surprised, Jeff, because you know what? The media's been liberal since Bernie Goldberg came out with his book. You know, Bernard Goldberg used to work at CBS News, to give a hat tip to Rush. Remember, he used to work at CBS with Dan Rather. He called him Dan I'd rather not work with. He had the insight on the media bias, Jeff. You remember Bernard Goldberg?
Yes, Bernie Goldberg. Yeah, of course.
Yep, and also there's a book, I forget the name of the author, Jeff. It came out, I think Media Busters. They used to have a part of their site called The Gospel According to the New York Times. There was a book, I forget the author, but he was a really, really good author. It was John Proctor or John Smith or something like that. But there was, I know you know the book, it's got like the cover of the New York Times. It's a soft cover, paperback cover book, and it was called The Gospel According to the New York Times. Do you remember the book, Jeff?
I mean, it rings a bell, but I can't pinpoint an author. But basically what you're saying, Dave, is we've known about the lying liberal media now for decades. So you're saying at this point we shouldn't be surprised, correct?
Be surprised, and thank God for people like you. Some of Fox News, not all of Fox, but in Newsmax and OAN, Jeff, we got the news that comes out, the truth. Like George Snuffleupagus came out about a couple of years ago, criticizing Fox, OAN, and Newsmax. But when he did that, Jeff, it just shows he makes his own point. It just shows how far left ABC, NBC, NPR, and everybody else is. In the print media, the New York Times, the Washington Post, even here in Pittsburgh, the Post-Gazette, they're liberal. But we get the Tribune Review, which is kind of like the Herald back there, more to the right, but still they do go center. But, Jeff, he made his point that he admits he's a liberal. You know what I'm saying?
Dave, if you were advising the Trump campaign and he says, hey, Kamala just came to me, her people, they want one more debate on CNN October 23rd, about 2 weeks before the election. Should I say yay or nay? What would you tell him, Dave? What would be your advice to Trump? Do it or don't do it?
Wouldn't do it, but unless it was either on, I'm going to be honest, a Trump-friendly network. That way she wouldn't be caught cheating. I wouldn't say Trump-friendly, but more middle or to the right,
neutral.
Like OAN or Newsmax.
I agree. No, I completely agree with you. And that's why she won't agree to it. And that's why Trump said, no, let's not even bother. Dave, thank you very much for that call. Really good points, as always. 617-266-6868. No, that's why Trump said there's going to be no more debates. Why? So we can have another ABC News fiasco? And look, again, the scandal here, yes, it was completely biased. Yes, it was rigged. Yes, it was an ambush. But it was all planned and coordinated, colluded between ABC News and Kamala. That's why this affidavit and this whistleblower at ABC is so explosive. And so if I'm Trump, I'm like, you want to see how rigged it is? You want to see how bad the fake news media is? Why you shouldn't believe a word that comes out of their mouth? Look at this. And he goes, look, if I was Trump, I'd say every day, ask ABC. Did they give her sample questions? Yes or no? Yes or no? Did they give her assurances they were going to quote unquote fact check me, but not fact check her? Did they specifically talk about certain areas that were no-go areas for Kamala? Yes or no? Is the whistleblower lying or not lying? Ask Kamala every day. Ask ABC every day. Let the truth come out. It will be devastating, not just for the media, which to me already has lost all credibility, but I mean, it'll wipe them out. Once and for all, it will completely wipe. It'll be a scandal they'll never be able to recover from. But also, frankly, for Kamala, you're that pathetic? You can't even handle one debate on your own? So if I'm Trump, look, now, especially with the polls, I don't know what polls some people are looking at. I told you, I'm getting, even now, I'm getting emails blaming me, saying, Jeff, how dare you talk about some of these polls showing Trump is in the lead? We all know Trump is behind. Trump's going to lose. What? You're giving people a false sense of hope. Okay, hey, you want to jump off a bridge, jump off a bridge. I don't know what else to tell you. It just broke this morning. New York Times Siena poll. It's one of the biggest polling firms in the country. And they oversample Democrats. They always have. And they're saying Trump now is on the path to a narrow victory. They're saying it. What do you want me to tell you? Not report it? Now, look, as things stand right now, I'm just going by the New York Times. Now, not that they're gospel. It's that they're the other side. And they load up their polls to make sure that it always tilts left. So they're tilting. Tilt some more. Let me tilt a little bit more. In Arizona, Trump is starting to run away with it. Nevada, he's starting to run away with it. He now has, according to the New York Times, a small but clear lead in both Georgia and North Carolina. The governor of Pennsylvania has now come out and said that if the election were held today, a Democrat, Josh Shapiro, Trump would win. Fetterman, I can play you the cut. Fetterman was at the Atlantic magazine. He was at a festival. And he said, you're really underestimating, all of you, Trump's strength in in Pennsylvania. Basically, Fetterman, he's kind of brain damaged, frankly, from that stroke or heart attack. But so he kind of meanders and he's incoherent and his mind jumps and it's kind of hard to follow him. But basically he's saying if the election, like Shapiro, he's a Democrat. He goes, if the election were held today in Pennsylvania, Harris is going to lose. Now, I'm telling you, this already, what I just discussed now, is enough for Trump to win. If he wins Arizona, and he will, and he wins Nevada, and he will, and he wins North Carolina, and he will, and he wins Georgia, and he will, and the big one, the Keystone State, Pennsylvania, it's over. He's got the Electoral College. Good night, Irene. I don't care what the national poll, what the national popular vote is, irrelevant. He could lose New Hampshire, which I don't want him to, but I'm just saying. He loses New Hampshire. He loses Michigan. He loses Wisconsin. He still wins. Now, one other quick point, okay, because there's been so much news over the weekend, you need to hear this. The Muslim mayor, and I'm going to say it one more time, the Muslim mayor of a key town in Wayne County, Michigan. Wayne County is home to Dearborn. Okay, it's the largest population of Muslim and Arab Americans in the United States. He's from Yemen. He's a Yemeni immigrant. Staunch Democrat. Has now come out and endorsed Donald Trump. It has hit Michigan. I'm telling you, it has been a shock. You want to talk about shock and awe? This Muslim mayor, and not just that he endorsed him, but that he got so much support from the Muslim and Arab American community by endorsing Trump. It is a thunder blow to the Democrats and to Kamala Harris. And so why? And by the way, this is the guy, this mayor is the guy, Amir Gilab, or Galib. I forget how I don't mean to mangle his name. I don't know exactly if my pronunciation is accurate. But anyway, Amir Galib is one of the leaders of the uncommitted movement in the Democratic primary. Remember those 100,000 plus Democrats in Michigan that said we're going to vote uncommitted? We're so against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for the way they're handling the war in Gaza that we will not vote for them. That's the guy. And he came out and said, I had a 20-minute conversation with Trump. We met in Flint, Michigan. The man the media portrays him to be is not the man that I met. This is a man of peace. This is a man of principles. And under his leadership, the Middle East was at peace. Whatever you think about the Israeli-Palestinian issue, we had peace. The Abraham Accords, we had peace. And so he is now urging all Arab Americans, Muslim Americans, to now vote for Donald Trump. It's one of the biggest endorsements of the entire election. Kamala and Biden have alienated the Arabs and the Muslims in Dearborn. And that is a significant voting bloc. It's the key voting bloc for the Democrats. Trump now is on the verge of taking Michigan. If he takes Michigan, the blue wall is destroyed for the Democrats. So what I'm saying is Kamala's campaign is starting to collapse on multiple fronts. That's why all of the energy, the momentum is now behind Trump. That's why she's asking him for a debate. If she would be leading, if she's leading in the polls, why would she be asking Trump for a debate? And so Trump came out and said, look, I'm winning. I'm sorry, but I'm winning. The polls show it. Our internal polls show it. Now it's just a question of executing the ground game and preventing them from stealing the election. So with all this in play, I'm like, you got to be crazy to want another debate. Like, seriously, after what just came out now about ABC News, like, seriously, you need your head examined. So I'm a firm no. Now, my question to you, should Trump make an issue now of the fact that this debate was clearly rigged? And did he make a mistake in saying no to one more debate with Kamala? 617-266-6868. I want to hear from you, the great audience of Kuhner Country. Judy in Vermont. Thanks for holding, Judy, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Judy.
We went to see J.D. Vance with Tucker Carlson on Tucker's tour in Pennsylvania this weekend, and it was amazing. He spoke in a packed stadium. J.D. didn't have a teleprompter. He spoke the entire time, and he was clear and talked about his policies, and the place was just like spellbound by him. And I really think the Republican Party or the America First Party is changing. They're young. They're well spoken. They're on fire. And do you know that Hillary Clinton even had a teleprompter when she was with Oprah Winfrey? She couldn't even do that without a teleprompter. And then in our hotel,
hold on, you mean Kamala, right?
Yeah, I don't know who I said.
Yeah, you
Kamala,
said Hillary Clinton. No, that's okay.
No.
You say, so when Kamala did Oprah, this is incredible. She even had a teleprompter for that? Seriously?
And then I just want to say in our hotel, they had the first day we were there, they had ABC News on in the morning on all the TVs. And then the next morning it was on Fox. And I met this gentleman. Everybody that you talk to in Pennsylvania is so nice. And I think they're all voting for Trump. And they don't have a problem talking about it. Like, they don't care if people overhear them. They're just like, we're not hiding anymore. We're not the silent majority anymore. We talk openly, and everybody that I talked to was totally for Trump. And I noticed Fox was on the next morning, and he goes, yeah, I went right over. He says, we don't need to listen. He goes, no matter where you go up to the concierge, or no matter where you are, you find out who's controlling the stations, and you tell them to change it. We don't have to listen to it. It's a dying media. The legacy media is gone. Nobody's listening to it. It's a joke.
Good for you. Good for you. No, Judy, look, that's why they're in a panic. That's why the elites are losing their collective minds. It's not just that Trump is coming back. Of course, and him coming back is going to be a huge body blow. But J.D. Vance is going to be set up to do 8 years after Trump. We're looking at 12 years of real, powerful, brilliant MAGA rule. I mean, this will wipe the left out. and they know it. That's why they're desperate to beat him now at all costs. And Judy, when you're in Pennsylvania, your sense is you're in Trump country, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, you see,
We
that's
were
what...
at the hotel where they stayed.
Go ahead, Judy.
And JD was unbelievable. Oh, my God. It was crazy.
No,
was
I know.
so
Look,
impressed.
I can't wait for that debate between him and Tim Walz, October 1st. Oh, you want to talk about rolling out the popcorn and the Diet Coke. Oh, Judy, it's going to be a show. He is going to clean Waltz's clock. Oh, it's going to be a thing of beauty. Judy, thank you very, very much for that call. Look, just to return it, that's why Fetterman is telling everybody, guys, we're going to lose Pennsylvania. Like, if things don't turn around, you're going down in Pennsylvania. Like, hello? So, and by the way, Kamala needs Pennsylvania. If Pennsylvania falls to Trump, her path to the 270 electoral college votes, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it becomes extremely difficult. So, look, I don't want to be overconfident. The last thing I am is overconfident. But what I'm just saying is, right now, the wind is at Trump's back. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Charles in West Springfield. Thanks for holding, Charles, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Charles.
I want to see what the American people are going to do about this. They have a chance to do something about this, but I can't stand it when people complain and say how angry they are. And they have a chance to do something, but they don't want to be inconvenienced, then they'll let somebody else do it. What I mean by this is, how much of the American people now going to stop buying Disney products? Forget ABC. Hit Disney with this. Stop going to Disney World. Stop buying their products. Get out in front of Disney World. Start holding some protests. Are the American people willing to give up Disney, be a little inconvenienced, and send a message? I don't think so. I don't have faith in the. That's why I don't have faith in the American people, because they're willing to let somebody else be inconvenienced. But when it comes to them, well, I don't know if I can do it. This is a chance to send a message. This is a chance to hit Disney with it. That'll get world attention. That'll let people know. They can't hide from that. Hit Disney's numbers. The American people have a chance to do it. Will they do it? I don't think so.
Well, Charles, just to reinforce what you're saying, and you're making a really, really good point. Apparently Kamala Harris is very good friends with one of the top executives at Disney. I mean, one of the top executives. So as you pointed out, Disney owns ABC News. So this really wasn't just a hit job done by ABC. It was ultimately a hit job done by Disney. Because I'll tell you this would not have been done, no question, without at least the tacit understanding and support of the ownership and management of Disney. Because if Trump wants to go to the wall on this, and I'm urging him to do it, we're talking massive fines. I mean, this could be, I mean, we're talking not only huge fines, but a permanent, devastating blow to their credibility. So Disney clearly had a hand in this. And look, I agree with you. Maybe people will boycott ABC News, but they'll still go to Disney. I guarantee it. They'll still buy Disney products. They'll still rent their movies or whatever, go on their network and, download their shows and pay their subscription fees. Now, I'm boycotting Disney, and for some reason, I can't believe this, but my daughter's actually listening to me. My little Ava. So I think she's turning on Disney as well because she's interested in other things right now. But I can tell you this, in our home, I don't buy anything from Disney. None. Nothing. Zero. Nada. But most Americans, you're right, Charles. Charles, what is it about most Americans? Is it they just can't, they have to have the creature comforts no matter what? Is that what it is?
No, I think that a lot of it is that people want to do something. I think you can hear it in the American people. They want to do something, but they don't know how, because you can see that if they feel like they're all alone. because there's no groups to join. There's nobody that they can understand, hey, if this happens to me, I got somebody protecting my back, and, I'm going to make sure that I'm safe from this. You can see what happens. One at a time, they can nail you, one at a time. So if you're all alone, just look at Steve Bannon. They got to him. One guy, they got to him. So the American people are like, well, I'm just one. Where's the group? There is no leader anymore. There is no, like, George Washington. There is nobody to say, this is what we need to do. Here, you go do this, you go do this, and we're going to support each other. There's no faith that you're not going to be caught out there all alone, because they can hit you one at a time. They can nail you. But if we work together, they can't. But I think the American people are just like, where's the organization? I can't be all alone. And they feel like they're the only one, and there's nothing they can do about it.
Charles, that is an absolutely brilliant, brilliant, brilliant point. Thank you very much for that call. You know the expression, there's strength in numbers? Well, there's strength in numbers and there's strength in groups. So let me throw this quick log on the fire. Is Charles right? Do you feel alone as a conservative or as a Trump supporter? Do you feel that we need more groups to watch each other's back and look after each other? Your call's next. 7:19 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, lines are loaded. Shocking new revelations. Whistleblower has now come out, signed an affidavit saying that there was massive rigging taking place between ABC News and the Harris campaign. They gave her sample questions ahead of the debate, which resembled very closely the actual questions. Plus, certain topics were negotiated that they would not discuss, and that Harris is asked specifically for the moderators to constantly so-called fact-check Trump, debate him, bicker with him, undermine him, while making sure that this never happened to her. In short, ABC News colluded with Harris and her entire campaign, and now the media is trying to cover it up. Harris is now also asking for a final debate on CNN. Trump has said, no way, Jose. The media is out to get me. It's not going to be fair. And as he put it, they want an October 23rd date. By then, over half the country will have voted. It is too little, too late. Trump says no more debates. Agree, disagree. Denise in Beverly. Thanks for holding, Denise, and welcome.
Better today. I don't know. I just watched the movie God is Dead. That's the kind of debate that should be going on in this world, not the kind they have. She lied and lied. The fact checking. I called Disney, ABC, and I gave them hell about the fact checking. What else I wanted to tell? My God, I get so nervous.
No, that's okay, Denise. Let me ask you: should Trump agree to a final debate with Kamala?
Trump, unless it's on Newsmax or Fox, because Jeff, we knew that she was getting those answers. We knew that she was getting the questions for her because we all knew it. We all talked about it. We were at a debate party. We all talked about it. We knew that this was going to happen. And look what happened to her after that and on Oprah. She sounded like a lunatic. She couldn't answer anything. So I don't know how anybody could believe. And then the questions they asked Trump, January 6th, the abortion thing, they didn't ask him any really important things that we need to know. I'm just, oh my God, I think that Congress should do something about that whistleblower thing. And Trump shouldn't debate unless it's on Newsmax or Fox News.
I agree. Or on X or what? In other words, it's going to be neutral. It's going to be a fair debate. You want a fair one-on-one debate? Yeah, if I'm Trump, I'm like, of course I take it any day because she's a moron. No, really, she's got nothing. She's an airhead. She's got nothing between her ears. So I'd be like, yeah, I mean, I'll mop the floor with her. But if it's going to be this CNN or ABC or, CBS or what, forget it. We're wasting everybody's time. And after this scandal, look, going forward, no Republican should ever agree to do any debate with any of these legacy media networks. I mean, how much more obvious do they have to make it now? They're in the tank for the Democrats. So, to me, why bother? You're wasting everybody's time. Denise, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. 617-266-6868. Like, look, this is where the Republican National Committee, the RNC's got to earn their money. When you got a scandal like this, you got to go in front of the TV cameras. You got to bang the table. You got to raise hell. You got to raise hell, man. I mean, you got to put ABC up to the wall. You got to nail them to the wall on this. And, say, this is the corrupt media. This is the Democrat media industrial complex. This is propaganda. And just hammer them and hammer them and hammer them. Because what it exposes is not just the corruption of the media. It exposes what a joke, what a lightweight of a candidate Kamala is. That she's completely phony, completely manufactured. Just like Joe Biden, she has to be propped up at all costs. 617-266-6868. Jim in the great state of Florida. Thanks for holding, Jim, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. How's it going?
Good. How are you, Jim?
I'm doing good. I'm going to go a little contrarian with you on both of these situations.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I follow Real Clear Politics very closely, and they do aggregate polling, which I think is the closest you can get. Because they're taking every poll out there and they're averaging it, and I'll tell you what, I'm not as bullish as you are, because some of these states do not look good. Like Georgia doesn't look good. The Pennsylvania looks good, but she has trended up. If you look at the charts on that, she's made it very close and she's trended up, and then in the overall aggregate popular vote. So, that here's I have always thought that if Trump doesn't win, I felt like I was on Real Clear. If he's not above 2 percentage points, 1 to 2%, let's say 2 percentage points going into the election, then the mail going to cheat mail harvesting. And the other state that's very bothersome is Georgia. And that's a state they're going to cheat in. So I think if it was all fair, yeah, he would win, but I think it's very close, closer than I think that. We kind of live in our own thing here, but because we listen to each other. But man, you get out and talk to people. There's still a lot of Trump hate out there. And then as far as the polling, the media will work. The debate. The media is going to work that against Trump because he came out and said CNN was very fair.
Jim, can you just hang on? I want you to finish your last point because I think I know where you're going with it. So, okay, let me ask all of you. Jim says that the Real Clear Politics polling shows it's a very tight race, trending Kamala. Do you agree? 7:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Okay, let's go right back to Jim in Florida. Jim is being a contrarian, which is fine. He's saying, look, Jeff, I think you're overconfident. Real Clear Politics. Average has Kamala in some ways winning. Georgia it looks like it's in her column. Pennsylvania is a toss-up. Nationally, things are starting to trend towards Kamala. There's a lot of anti-Trump hatred out there. And he says this may not be a victory for Trump come November. Furthermore, he also says that Trump's decision not to agree to a debate on CNN could be used against him, and we got cut off at the break. Please, Jim, pick up where you left off.
Thanks, Jeff, for keeping me on. My point is, Trump unfortunately does not control the mainstream media narrative. So if he goes against CNN, they're gonna flip it on him. They're gonna say, look, you said a while back that CNN was great. Now you're saying they're not, and so they'll play him like he's a chicken. What he is saying is real and the truth, but perception is a whole nother game. And the other thing is, I also think CNN, in fairness to them, I don't think they will cheat, because I think that they are going to see a chance to differentiate themselves against ABC, and that is getting some traction in the mainstream media. And so I think they surprised me. Last time they ran a pretty good debate, I would think they would do the same thing. I think if Trump does not do this debate, it will hurt them, or will hurt him, because they'll say he's chicken, and they'll play that. And like I said on this polling, Trump, look, if he can get it above 2%, I think he's going to win. But this mail harvesting thing really scares me in a lot of these states. And all they need is plausible deniability. So if you go into the election and are real clear it's a 1%, difference, and let's say he's ahead 1%, they can cheat it and say, look, 1%, that's close. You surged, you lose, too bad.
Well, Jim, look, you make a lot of very interesting points. What I would just say is this. You look at Real Clear Politics. I don't trust the polling. I've never trusted the polling. And the reason why is I know how these polling firms work. None of them have been accurate, with the exception of Rasmussen and a few others. And so these polls built in, they oversample Democrats at least 2 to 4 percentage points. So when you look at all these polls on Real Clear, remember, they're all tilted against Trump automatically. There are more Democrats being asked questions than Republicans. There are more Democrat-leaning independents being asked questions than Republicans. So they're trying to create a sense of momentum for Kamala. They're not trying to be accurate. See, they're being political. So that's why I never take the Real Clear average seriously. You may disagree with me. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. Now, as for the national polling, if it's a dead heat nationally, Trump wins 100%. Literally 100%. And the reason is Kamala is going to rack it up in California, in Washington, in Oregon, in Illinois, in a lot of these big blue states. New York, although that's starting to close now for Trump. But what I'm saying is, nationally, Democrats always do well, because they have certain big blue states where they blow out the Republicans by 20, 30 percentage points. What matters is the Electoral College. It's the battleground states. And there, she's weak. I mean, even her own campaign admits that she's weak. You say you're worried about Georgia. I just read a story over the weekend. They're worried about Georgia. So if Kamala's people are worried about Georgia, then they should be worried about Georgia. And see, Jim, this is their problem, and you can't square this circle. Their record has been horrific. I mean, I know you know that, but what I'm saying is you can spin all you want. You can hate Trump all you want. Hate ultimately doesn't put food on the table. Hate doesn't pay the rent. Hate doesn't pay the mortgage. Hate doesn't fill up your tank. So the problem is they have such a horrible record, especially on the economy, inflation, and the border. And Kamala is a terrible campaigner. I mean, she just is. Objectively, she's a horrible campaigner. She's a terrible campaigner. She's not popular with voters. She never has been. So we're not dealing with someone with real natural charisma. She doesn't have that. We're not dealing with someone we say, well, I may disagree with them, but boy, man, are they good on the stump. She runs from the media. She runs from the press. She's dislikable. Objectively, she's just dislikable. She's a real phony. So, against all of this, yes, you're right. The ballot harvesting, the phantom voting, I'm very concerned. To me, that's the only way now they can win. So, we've got, what is it now, 5 weeks or 6 weeks left? We got one more big debate coming up, J.D. Vance and Tim Walz, and we'll see what happens. Now, as for calling him chicken on CNN, I think the ABC News debate changed everything. I honestly do, Jim. I think people looked at that and said that was a travesty. And you say, well, but they were fair to him the last time. CNN was fair to him the last time because their goal was to take out Joe Biden. Remember, the media made a coordinated push the second that debate was over. Every single one of them, like a parrot. Joe Biden's got to go. Joe Biden has to be dropped from the ticket. So the only reason why they were semi-fair to Trump wasn't because CNN has journalistic ethics or cares about distinguishing themselves from ABC. They're losing money. CNN loses money. Their job is to take out Trump. And they reasoned Biden can't do it. So let Trump take out Biden. We'll just make it a fair debate. And then we replace Biden with Kamala because they were hoping Kamala would be able to take out Trump. So I don't trust CNN as far as I can throw them. No way would I have him do another debate on CNN. No, Trump can plausibly turn around and say this. Here's the ultimate comeback. I'm chicken? Okay, let's do Fox News. CNN had their debate. How many times are we going to go to CNN? ABC News had their debate. Now, I offered you NBC News on September 25th. You turned me down. So, you want to do a debate? Let's do it on Fox. Different platform, different outlet, different venue. Why does CNN get to do all the debates? So, I'll debate you. We're just going to do it on a different network. And in the wake of ABC, a network that's more fair and more neutral. Nobody would disagree with that. Everybody saw what happened at ABC News. Look, ABC News is never going to recover from this, and they shouldn't. And now with this whistleblower coming out now, I mean, to me, who the hell watches ABC News? Really? It's like reading Pravda or Izvestia in Russia. I mean, you're just getting state media propaganda. So, Jim, I'll be honest with you. Why am I so confident? Because they've been so bad and horrible in office. Their record is their record is their record. They can run, but they can't hide. And that's Trump's ultimate ace in the hole. What say you, Jim?
I agree with you on the. Here's what I would say. I think he needs to do a debate. I do agree that would be the strategy to say, look, it's either Fox or I'm not going to do it. Then he could probably say, I think he would save face. So I agree with you there. I disagree with you though on Real Clear. Of course, all these polls have a built-in bias. There's no doubt, but they're aggregating all of them. And I'd say if you look at Real Clear, I looked at the last two elections and I watched it really close. I'd say they're off about 2% off the truth, 1.5% to 2% on the aggregate. So that's what my biggest fear is. If Trump cannot get this aggregate over 2%, then they're going to cheat him, and then they'll have plausible deniability. They'll say, "Hey, it was close, and she surged, and too bad," and there'll be nothing, And at that point, there's nothing you can do. I think I think it's doable if he gets momentum here the next month. He's got to get momentum and get these polls up, because then they can't. Part of them cheating is the ability to say it was close, and if it's close going in, then they'll cheat. So he needs to get over 2%. That's
interesting. Jim, look, I really enjoyed this discussion. I thought it was a really, really good discussion. Jim, please don't be a stranger. Call again. So Jim is saying, look, I'm worried Trump needs more of a lead in order to pull this out in November. Do you agree with Jim? Are you worried about the polls? 749 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Feeling much better, by the way. Thank you to all of you. A lot of texts and emails and people on Messenger saying, Jeff, please get better, get well. Anyway, much better than last week. Not 100%, but I'm getting there. Okay, very quickly, because the lines are jammed. The Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Do you trust the polls? Do you believe the polls in general? Do you believe the opinion polls? Whether they show Trump with a slight lead or Kamala with a slight lead or how the race is shaking out. Do you have confidence? Do you believe in the polls? A, yes. B, no. I am a no all the way. I've never trusted the polls. I think they oversample Democrats and those independents that lean Democrat by at least, as I said, 2 to 4 percentage points. I think it's been shown now over many, many election cycles that they overestimate the strength of the Democrats and the Democratic candidate. So personally, I think Trump is leading, and I think he's at the gates of victory. Now, again, they're going to try to steal it. That's, to me, where the election's going to be won or lost. But in terms of gauging the lay of the land, I think there's no question now. Trump clearly has all the momentum, and he should win most, if not all, of the battleground states. But that's me. I want to hear from you. A, yes. Do you trust these polls? B, no. You can vote on our webpage, WRKO.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER, WRKO.com/Kuhner. You can also vote via X. Very active on X, as you saw last night. My handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, Kuhn as in national ER. Super quick. They're so worried about their record, Kamala and Waltz, that they are now trying to pretend that the last 3.5 years, I kid you not, were Trump's fault. Basically, what they're trying to insinuate now is that Trump was really in charge the last 3.5 years. That's how bad their record is on the economy, on inflation, on the border, you name it. Listen now to Tim Waltz, okay? Tiananmen Tim, that dunderhead. This is him at a rally in Pennsylvania over the weekend. You can't make this up. Roll cut 23. Mike.
We can't afford 4 more years of this.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tim. We can't. We can't. Yeah, who's been in power the last 4 years? Kamala, Biden, and soon you, if you guys win in November. We can't afford 4 more years of this. There it is. That's their problem in a nutshell. That's what has them in a vice. And Trump now is just squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. Listen to him in North Carolina. He is on fire. Roll cut 18, Mike.
This election is about the economy. This election is about the border. That's what it is. And I am your border president. Your border president. Kamala would be your invasion president. She would be your country destroying president.
See, it's not just that their record is terrible. It's that under Trump, people remember the economy was better. Inflation was much better. The border was secure. In other words, Trump, you want low inflation? He did it already. You want a booming economy? He did it already. You want rising wages? He did it already. You want border security? He did it already. That's the fundamental problem the Democrats have. I want to play one more cut, then go right to the phone lines. This is Trump on fire in North Carolina, saying Kamala created the mess that we're in. So how can she be the solution? She is the problem. Roll cut 19, Mike.
Everyone knows that Kamala Harris cannot explain how she would make your life better because it's really her policies that have destroyed this country in the last 3 years. She was the border czar. Now she says she wasn't the border czar. It doesn't matter. She was in charge of the border, put there by sleepy Joe Biden. He wanted to go to the beach. She said, I don't have time. I got to go to the beach and sleep. Who the hell sleeps on camera? You have cameras watching. I don't want to ever fall asleep on live television. Kamala Harris cost your family $28,000 in higher prices. Last month alone, she lost, think of this, last month they lost, in this country, 438,000 full-time jobs. That's a government number, including 24,000 manufacturing jobs. That's last month. And the interest rates are lowered for political reasons, but they're also lowered because the country is not doing well.
He's completely right. I mean, they have buried, let's use Elizabeth Warren's term, they've hammered the middle and working class for the last 4 years. You can run, but you can't hide. 617-266-6868. Mike in Long Island. Thanks for holding, Mike, and welcome.
Jeff, I have 2 quick points and 1 question.
Yes.
The first point is I don't believe the polls at all. I think the deep state uses the polls to manipulate and influence the elections. Second, Harris and Walsh are the 2 worst candidates in history, so they have to cheat. And my other point is, why doesn't Trump's people cheat? I don't want him to know. But why should cheating just be exclusive to the Democrats and we're supposed to accept it? And I have one more question before you go into that one. The other thing is I lived in New York my whole life, and New York, without the 4 or the 5 boroughs, is pretty much a dark purple, red state. Why is New England, especially Massachusetts and Vermont, always blue? You can never count on them to ever be fair in any election. They're always voting for the Democrats. What is it? The Kennedy effect? What's the matter with the people?
Well, you nailed it, Mike. Part of it is the Kennedy effect, which had a huge impact on Massachusetts. The unions, very powerful and always lean Democrat. And I think what people tend to underestimate are the universities. Massachusetts has a ton of universities. And those students, that's Elizabeth Warren's people. That's who come. Ed Markey defeated a Kennedy because he basically got the college students to come out and vote for him. The Green New Deal, AOC, the Squad, they rallied to Markey. They went to the universities. It's not just Harvard and MIT. I mean, there's Boston University, there's University of Massachusetts, UMass, there's Boston College, there's Holy Cross, I could go on and on. There are so many of them. Hell, there's actually a pretty good one, maybe 7 minutes from where I live? I mean, in Massachusetts, there's universities everywhere. And so what you have is you have a lot of students who come from out of state, but they're radicalized by their professors. And they vote. You know, I've said this many times. Take away the students. Just take away the students. Massachusetts is a purple state. It's competitive. It's like what you just said about New York. You know, get out of the 4 or 5 boroughs. You're looking at a purple state in New York. But it's the students. People really don't realize the impact that the students have. Vermont, just very quickly, Mike. that was a plan by the radical left 40, 50 years ago. Literally, the hippies said, we want to invade one state. Let's take over one state. We can do all the free love, get stoned, marijuana, live in communes, and they picked Vermont. And they invaded Vermont, and they just, Ben and Jerry's, they were hippies, or whatever, ex-hippies. And so that's why Vermont went left. That would basically all the hippies from around the country said, let's go resettle in Vermont. But to answer your New England question, that's what it is. And the last stronghold for the Republicans was New Hampshire. New Hampshire held out. And now all these Massachusetts refugees who were fleeing the high taxes caused by liberal rule and Democratic rule, and all the wasteful spending and the high crime and the high illegal immigration and the lousy roads, and because all the mismanagement and waste. And what do you think they do, Mike? Do they go up to New Hampshire and vote Republican? No. They're like the California refugees who are going into Arizona and Nevada and New Mexico. They bring their politics with them. So they flee the consequences of liberalism, but they keep voting liberal. And that's what's starting to happen to New Hampshire. New Hampshire is now a purple state, and soon it may be even trending blue. I hope that answers your question, Mike.
Yes, thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
And you made excellent points. All across the board, excellent points. Mike, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. That's why, to be honest with you, if I'm a lifelong New Hampshire, resident, if, the freedom state, live free or die, I'd be really pissed off at these Massachusetts refugees. I really would. I'd be like, it's bad enough you ruined your own state, but now you in Mass, you guys got to come up here and ruin ours? 617-266-6868. Dan in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. This is Nurse Dan for Congress. Jeff,
hi, Dan.
Trump needs one more debate, okay? If you look at the sequence of events, notwithstanding the rigging by ABC, Camilla's debate performance was pathetic because her answers were so incredulous. Then she does the infomercial with Oprah, and clearly that went over like a lead balloon because she came off as completely vapid. So Trump should debate her one more time. It should be a town meeting type forum where the candidates select the topics and there'll be no moderator. The questions will come directly from the audience. Even if the audience is stacked against Trump, Trump is a better extemporaneous thinker, and he'll do better than Camilla will, because she will not be able to anticipate the questions from the audience. As far as the student effect, Trump should brand himself as the candidate of peace. The Democrat Party is the party of war. I'm going up against an incumbent Democrat, Bill Keaton, that's never voted against a single war. He looks at war as an investment opportunity. And Trump can get out there and appeal to the students out there and show them that he is the candidate of peace and that they do not have to live in fear of fighting and dying in a useless, endless, no-win war.
I love it. Dan, I love it. I think that's the anti-war plank of his platform. I think can be extremely appealing to a lot of young people, especially if he turns around and says, I don't want to send you to the Middle East. I don't want to send you or your friends to Ukraine. I don't want you to send you. I want to send you to some foreign war where you're going to be killed or be maimed or crippled to line the pockets of the military-industrial complex. So I agree with you completely, Dan. I think Trump should really play up the anti-war angle of his entire agenda, because not only does it have mass appeal, but it really resonates with the youth. Dan, great point. Thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868. No, look, many of you have been texting into the Kuhner man saying, Jeff, why not have Trump, counter with a town hall? Like what Nurse Dan just mentioned. I love the idea of a town hall. And no moderators. No moderators. Let it be the hall is 50% Kamala supporters, 50% Trump supporters. Or if you want, better yet, they're all undecideds. Just pack the place with undecided voters. And even if they, get a couple of Kamala surrogates in there, it still doesn't matter. No questions ahead of time. The audience asks the questions. That's it. 90 minutes. I'd rather do 2 hours, but 90 minutes. And let the audience fire away. You can't give the questions ahead of time because you don't know who they're going to ask the questions. And they just come on in, raise their hands, ask a question. Period. Full stop. Kamala would never agree to that. She would get destroyed. I mean, eviscerated. She would be humiliated. So there's no way in hell she would ever agree to that. But if I'm Trump, that's the ultimate counter. You turn around and say, no, I don't want, why should I do CNN all the time? No. Let's do a town hall. Not these elitists in Washington or New York. Not the media elites. Not these moonbats. No. The American people. Let's take questions from them. And in particular, those that are still on the fence, those that are undecided. We do issues, topics, not specific questions. And nothing is off the table. Nothing. Hell would freeze over before Kamala would agree to anything like this. 617-266-6868. Brooks in Florida. Thanks for holding, Brooks, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. You sound great.
Thank you, Brooks. I feel much better.
So earlier today you were talking about whistleblowers, and recently Matt Gaetz, I'm gonna do a small detour here, but I'll tie it all in together. Recently Matt Gaetz came out with some earth-shattering information, and this was late Friday, and he's indicated that he also has a whistleblower with extreme credibility, and he's indicating that he's getting information to Trump's team, his family, that they've got five assassination teams going after him. Recently, Trump did a rally, and Mike played some of the clips from North Carolina, and just to show people like Jim from Florida, who had some, call it Debbie Downer, reasons why he might not be able to win, the hand of God is in this. Trump literally had his grandchildren on that stage in his arms, and it was just almost terrifying to see, because Laura Trump, Eric Trump were there. They passed over the grandchildren, and I thought, this is just absolutely courageous. This country has gone through almost what I would consider a mini case of revival. This is no longer political. This is life and death. Recently, Trump put on his X account 0 and 2. This is way beyond polls. The polls are demonstrated by the scumbag media. Those are the people oversampling Democrats, as you often said. And I thought that Rasmussen, coming on InfoWars recently, did a very stand-up job. And he said, look, I'm in this to tell the truth, or I'm out of business. He's up 2% minimum. You spend that 2% out across the country, we've got him. We've got him. But the hand of God is in this. The hand of the Lord is in this. We're going to win.
Brooks, you sound like me at dinner last night. I'm telling you, really almost verbatim. Almost verbatim. Brooks, I want to play a cut, and I want to get your reaction. This was Trump recently interviewed with Cheryl Atkinson, and she's asking him, hey, look, if you come up short in November, if for whatever reason you don't win in November. Is this your last run for the presidency? And listen to what Trump said. Roll cut 21, Mike.
If you're not successful this time, do you see yourself running again in 4 years?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I think that will be it. I don't see that at all. I think that hopefully we're going to be successful.
So, number one, Brooks, so much for Trump the dictator, because dictators always want power. Dictators always want to keep running until they achieve power. So, number one, that pretty much throws the dictator narrative out the window. But number two, what struck me was Trump is saying, hey, look, this is really it. This is for all the marbles. This is the whole ball game. Either we win and save our country, or if not, I'll be 82 into 2028, probably in jail, maybe dead. Who knows what they're going to do to me if they win in November. So this is my last hurrah. This is our last chance. And we better get it right. It's now or never. What say you, Brooks?
A very, very powerful moment for him. I feel strongly that he, understands this intuitively, and he's philanthropically, he's putting his life on the line. He's putting his hard-earned money on the line, his reputation. And Trump's been visited by the Lord. Trump realizes that, his position right now is to save this country, but more importantly is to counter the communism that's taken us over. So it's, he's purposely been put here, and I feel that he's going to win.
Brooks, that's exactly how I feel. People say to me, Jeff, why are you so confident? Why are you so confident? My own wife, Grace, again, last night, but why are you so confident? I go, I don't know. I don't want to speak for God. It's blasphemous. I just sense the hand of God. I don't know. He's a man marked by destiny. I just feel it in my gut, in my bones. Brooks, outstanding call. Please don't be a stranger. Call again. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, your reaction, your calls. Next. 820 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, what do you make now of the state of the race? Are you worried about Trump's chances in November? Do you think the polls are too close? Or do you believe Trump is going to win? And should he have agreed to Kamala Harris's challenge to a debate on CNN? She wanted one October 23rd, about 13 days before the election. He said no. It's by then too late. Over half the country will have voted. And plus, I don't trust the legacy media. The corporate media, to be fair, after what happened at ABC News, and now especially in the wake of the bombshell revelations of that whistleblower at ABC, that the whole thing was rigged in advance. Should Trump agree to one more debate? Does he need it, or does she need it? 617-266-6868. Mark in Medford. Thanks for holding, Mark, and as always, welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm glad you're feeling better, my friend.
Thank you very much, Mark.
All right, so, Jeff, you know me. I don't beat around the bush. I don't pull any punches, so I'm going to be straight up honest with you, like you say, like I'm in the confessional. I am sick and tired of hearing about whistleblowers coming forward. I'm sick and tired of the media not reporting when whistleblowers come forward. I'm sick and tired of the fact-checking. I'm sick and tired of Congress sitting there with their thumbs up their butts. But mostly, Jeff, I'm sick and tired of all of that and nothing being done about it. But God forbid, if Trump as much as left the toilet seat up after he took a pee, oh my God, he'd be a racist, discriminatory against women, and Hitler. Am I right or wrong, Jeff?
No, you're completely right. As usual, Mark. You're absolutely, completely right. Mark, a lot of people in Kuhner country they're negative. They think Trump's going to lose, not in a free and fair election. I think I speak for most in the audience that believe, no, if it's a free and fair election, Trump would win, no question. But they're afraid that the race is too close and that Mark, are you there? Okay. I think we lost Mark. That's okay. Thank you for that call, Mark. So look, that really Kuhner country is split. I would say almost 50-50 on this. Many of you, like Brooks, like me, are like, no, Jeff, I truly believe Trump is the hand of God. There's something special going on with him, and he is a man marked by destiny. And there is some kind of a revival taking place in this country. I got to say, I found it incredibly moving at that rally in North Carolina where he brought up his adorable grandkids. And all I'm thinking is, just a couple of months ago, an assassin's bullet was whizzing by your ear. And there you're putting up your beautiful granddaughter and your grandson. What if there's another assassin's bullet coming? I mean, I couldn't help it. It was like cringe, It was like, oh, it's just like I hope nothing happens. And then you realize the man took a bullet in the face for us. He literally put his life on the line for us. He's put his business, his wealth, his family, everything, his safety, his security, his freedom. They want to jail him forever. I mean, the guy's a warrior. You just can't help but admire him. And then Eric and Lara Trump are like, no, here, take the grandchildren. I want them to, tell everybody how proud they are of their grandpa. And basically Trump is saying, look, you want to know why I fight? Here, look, my grandkids. That's why I fight. What kind of country are they going to have? This is for them. It's for all of us. And you realize he's even willing to put his whole family on the line. And risking their lives campaigning and with all the death threats and the assassination attempts. So, I'm with Brooks. I believe that there's something going on that is larger than us, that is propelling Trump forward. And I believe if you look at everything now that we see, he is at the gates of victory. And to me, the biggest concern I have are the phantom voters, the voter fraud, the ballot harvesting, their attempt to steal it. And we just got to watch that like an absolute hawk and be ready to call it out. If we do that, Trump will be the 47th president of the United States. Now, there's a large chunk, maybe half. And frankly, my wife is the same. Grace is in that camp that says they're going to steal it. It's still too close. It's too close. And Jim in Florida made that point as well. That will give the Democrats the veneer of plausibility that Kamala Harris genuinely won the election. And the fear is that's how they're going to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. They wish that lead in the polls was bigger and wider to make the steal impossible. So my question to you, do you believe the polls? And can Trump win? 8:30 here on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, look, again, I don't care for fake news. I don't trust fake news. I never have. I never will. My point is just this. When they're oversampling Democrats, and, which is very important, Democrat-leaning independents, at least 2 to 4 percentage points. Okay, and they admit it. That's why their polls are consistently off. That's why they've underrepresented Trump's real strength, whether it be in 2016 or 2020. And they're coming out with polls showing Trump is ahead. Kamala's in trouble. That's my only point. It's not, oh, what is this? Kuhner now trusts the New York Times. No, I'm just telling you. It's like Pravda or Izvestia coming out and saying the commies are losing. You're like, well, hell, if Pravda's saying the commies are losing, trust me, the commies are losing. Okay? So, this is this morning. Huge, big. You're going to hear about this all day today. New York Times. Big poll. Let me just give you the headline. The headline tells you everything you need to know. Trump shows signs of strength in Sunbelt battlegrounds. Polls find. So, new polls from the New York Times and Siena College. Again, they always slant Democrat. Showed Trump ahead in Arizona. By the way, Nevada as well, and I'm going to get to that because Nevada is a very important state, and leading in tight races in Georgia and North Carolina. So, among likely voters in Arizona, Trump is now up 50 to 45. Now, remember what Rasmussen has Trump at, up 8 in Arizona, which I think is more accurate. Again, they oversample Democrats, 2 to 3 percentage points. But anyway, the point is, in Arizona, Trump is at 50, Kamala's at 45. She's going down. In Nevada now, Trump is starting to pull away as well. So already, if Trump gets Arizona and Nevada, the pressure on Kamala is immense. She almost has to run the table in terms of the remaining battleground states. Georgia, Trump 49, Kamala 45. That's the New York Times. So to me, you know what that shows? I think he's up 7, 8 points. Okay, forget 4. Add another 3 or 4. But anyway, 49, 45. If Kamala loses Georgia, everyone, the New York Times, the Washington Post, this is CNN, all of them say it's over for Kamala Harris. Trump is now in the lead in Georgia. North Carolina, they have it 49-47 for Trump. There was another big poll, Trump 48, Kamala 44. So if these polls are any way accurate, Trump wins Pennsylvania, it's over. It's over. It's over. It's over. That's it. We can call the election at 10 o'clock on election night. We don't have to wait for New Hampshire, although I want New Hampshire, obviously, to go Trump. We don't have to wait even for Michigan. We don't even have to wait for Wisconsin. So they can have their blue wall. She's still going down. Now you know why they're asking for another debate. Now you know why the media is nervous. Now you know why Kamala is nervous. 617-266-6868 is the number. And I mentioned it earlier. I do want to mention it one more time because I can't tell you what a seismic shock this is for the Democrats in Michigan. This is huge. In Michigan, this is what all people are talking about. The media now doesn't want to mention it because it's a very demoralizing blow to Kamala. So, a prominent mayor, okay, he's an Arab American Muslim Democrat mayor, in Wayne County, which that's where Dearborn is located. This is where the heart of the Muslim American or Arab American community is in the United States. He's the mayor of Hamtramck. 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 His name is Amir Ghalib. Ghalib. He is an immigrant from Yemen. He's a Muslim. He met with Trump last week. They had a 20-minute conversation in Flint, Michigan. And Mayor Ghalib came out and said, look, we used to be a Democrat stronghold. We were all lifelong Democrats. Not anymore. I am endorsing Donald Trump for president of the United States. And he said, mark my words, there is now an army of Arab Americans, Muslim Americans in Wayne County, whether it be in Dearborn or in his town, Hamtramck, that are going to vote for Donald Trump because they're sick of the war in Gaza. They want the war in Gaza, and now, by the way, it has spread to Lebanon. I'll probably talk about this tomorrow. Israel has now launched over 100 airstrikes into Lebanon. We are talking about a lot of Hezbollah militias dead. Hezbollah is now raining rockets on northern Israel. There is now essentially a full-blown war that has now erupted between Israel and Hezbollah. So the Middle East is blowing up as we speak. They want peace. Ghalib said, we're voting on the peace issue. We had peace in the Middle East under Trump. Trump has promised us he will restore peace to the Middle East. We believe him. We want the killing and the dying to stop. Now, Trump's going to do it not by appeasing Iran, but by containing and crushing Iran through sanctions and economic pressure, basically drawing up their cash. But the fact of the matter is, he says, I will deliver peace, and it will be quick, swift, and decisive. Now, my point is this. This mayor has said, watch, we are going to deliver 100 to 150,000 votes for Trump in Michigan. The Democrats just lost a key demographic voting bloc. The Arab American vote, once a pillar of the Democratic Party, is now bleeding and starting now to defect to Trump. This endorsement, and that's why it's like a seismic shock in Michigan, may have just handed Michigan to Trump. And by handing Michigan to Trump, handed the election to Trump. So when you even have Muslim Americans, Arab Americans in Dearborn, Michigan, saying, we can't take any more of this administration, good luck. My advice to Democrats, good luck. She's going down. 617-266-6868. Just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. Evan in the great state of Connecticut. Thanks for holding, Evan, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you today?
I am very good. Pumped up, ready to go, Evan.
Amen, brother. So I don't believe any of these damn polls. You know, Denzel Washington said it best. I don't know if you ever saw this clip, but he said, if you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read the newspaper, you're misinformed. They're never telling us the truth.
That's true. That's a great line, by the way.
It is. And, you know, he continues to say that, you know, anything you consistently practice, you'll get good at, including BS. And you're absolutely right. These polls are completely oversampled for Democrats. And I do believe Trump is going to win in a landslide. I hope he wins in a landslide. You know, my wallet can't afford 4 years of Kamala Harris.
Evan, let me just play, you know, I agree with you, but let me just play devil's advocate for a second. What do you say to the argument that there is so much hatred for Trump out there and that the Democrats control the entire media apparatus, which is very, as you put it, misinformation, very powerful propaganda tool to brainwash, to indoctrinate, to incite, that you combine the media, you combine this Trump hatred with this voting machine where they can generate and manufacture ballots almost at will. And yeah, Trump can, you know, the polls can say whatever they want, and Trump's real popularity can be whatever it is. But in the end, the Democrats always find a way to steal it. Do you fear that Trump is going to have the election stolen from him again?
Of course I do. That's why the polls are dead even. because then they can justify it. They can make it easier. They can make it look like everything was hunky-dory before everything was even, maybe Kamala was pulling away a little bit. But then come election night, and you see the poll shut down, and all of a sudden 800,000 ballots get dumped in Pennsylvania again. They're going to be like, well, no, everything was fine. And we're just going to do nothing about it. Unfortunately, I want us to do something about it, but I don't know what we can do.
Interesting. So you're basically, Evan, your point is, and this is Grace's point as well, by the way, that the reason why the polls are showing it neck and neck and so close, like, it's anybody's election, it's a toss-up, is that when they steal it on election night, they'll say, it was close down to the wire, but she just pulled it out, correct?
Unfortunately, yes. I mean, I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I do believe that.
No, Evan, look, I hear you. Look, we got to wait. I mean, it's, we got to wait for the election. That's why my advice to Trump, don't let up. Keep the pedal to the metal. More rallies. Keep going. Don't stop. 8:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from Miranda Devine. She's a columnist at the New York Post. I think one of the leading commentators in the country. We're actually working hard to try to get her on the show, or at least Sandy is. And here's what she said now about the latest New York Times Siena poll. Quote, latest New York Times Siena has Trump 5 ahead in Arizona, 4 ahead in Georgia. Panic in the Harris camp should flush her out for risky public interactions like press conferences and town halls, where the full glory of her unformed mind will be on show. So in other words, the worse the polls get for them, the more they're going to start to expose her. The more they expose her, the worse it's going to get for her. So it's right now, it's bad news on every single front for Kamala Harris. Okay, very quickly, you need to hear about this. The IRS agents union just endorsed Kamala Harris. The IRS. Now, that should tell you everything you need to know about what her plans are for us. Get ready, because they're going to tax us to death. When the IRS union says we're backing Kamala all the way, we're looking at a $5 trillion, $5 trillion with a T, tax increase on you and on me. I mean, here, just take my wallet. Just take it, man. I mean, at this point here, just take it. Never mind what she's going to do to business taxes. Never mind what she's going to do taxing on unrealized capital gains, which is going to destroy our 401ks and other money that we have invested. I mean, this woman's a lunatic. And now you know why they've got those 87,000 IRS agents. Remember what the Democrats told us? Oh, it's for the super rich. Well, there's only 550 billionaires. So why do you need 87,000 IRS agents for 550 billionaires? No, they're not for the billionaires. They're for you and for me. 617-266-6868. Heather in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Heather, and welcome.
Hi, Jeffrey. How are you?
Very good, Heather. I got a real bounce spring in my step. I'm feeling good. If the election were held today, Heather, Trump would win. So I'm a happy man.
I feel the same way you do. I have a couple of comments. Comments. First, about the divine intervention, and I have a question about the debate. And lastly, I wanted to tell your audience, I saw Am I a Racist this weekend, and it was very, very interesting. It was a very well done movie, I thought. I thought Matt Walsh did a great job. It was very eye-opening, actually.
Yeah, I saw that it's out. So you recommend that I go see it?
It was, I mean, when you're first watching it, it's more like he's satire. So if you don't really know that Matt Walsh is a, conservative, you might think, oh, why, he's for racism, but it's not. He did it like satire-y, and it brings out what I really got was how it really, I mean, I knew the media, really, lies to us, and they really influence. But that movie proved to me just how much the media really influences everybody, and it like the insanity of it. If you understand what I mean, like it was very eye opening for me. Like even though I already knew that, when you watch the movie, you're like, oh my God, they really conditioned us to be this way. Like that's kind of what he proved through the movie, in my opinion.
Well, look, I have to say, I mean, again and again and again, Heather, I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with liberals, with Democrats, with now, Comrade Kamala supporters. It's all emotion. Cheap emotion. But you can tell exactly what you said. The conditioning, the indoctrination, the brainwashing. You mention Trump's name and they just start yelling, screaming, hollering, shaking. Their faces are clenched and you're like, calm down. I just said his name. And then you say, well, look, specifically, just tell me, what did he do while he was president that was so bad? Could you just give me one example? And then, right, he's a dictator. He hates women. He's a race KKK. He's a white supremacist. You go, oh, okay, you're just calling him names. Give me specifics. How was he a dictator? How was he a white supremacist? How did he oppress women? How did he oppress minorities? What, giving them higher wages? More jobs? More businesses? More freedom? More opportunity? Like, I'm sorry, how does he oppress people by making them wealthier and richer and more prosperous? And when you say that and you give him the stats about how well women did under Trump in particular, and how well, in fact, you know that minorities have never done better, ever, in any single presidential administration than under Trump in terms of their economy and their economic well-being? Ever, literally, ever than under Trump. I mean, we all did well, but I'm saying those two groups in particular. So I'm like, what, you think David Duke wants black people to do well? Like, are you normal? And when you say that, Heather, they go apoplectic. And that's when you realize, you're like, can't you see you're being conditioned? Can't you see you're being brainwashed? If you could only read my hate mail, these liberals, they don't stop. The constant hate and hate and hate and hate and hate. And the more facts I give out, the more logical arguments I make, the more they hate. It's honestly, Heather, I'm really being like I'm in the confessional, okay? As sincere as I can possibly be. I feel sorry for them. I really do. To live with this constant negativity and hatred. They must be, in their private lives, they must be utterly miserable human beings. How could you live like this every day? Anyway, I digress. Heather, my question to you. What do you make of these polls? Do you believe these polls? And do you think Trump is going to win?
Yes, I actually believe the polls. And 100%, I think Trump is going to win. And you had this conversation, I don't know the caller's name, but which made me call, about the guy said, I forget his name, but he was like, exactly. I basically had the same conversation with a girlfriend of mine, and this was before the first assassination attempt. And she asked me what I thought, and I said, you know something, I'm not real religious. However, my mother's very, very religious. And one thing my mother always tells me, like, if something's not going right in your life, and it would be annoying because it wouldn't like be at the right time. You'd be mad, like, oh, this didn't happen. I wanted this job. I didn't get this job, by whatever. And my mother always says, just remember, Heather, God has his plan. And I kind of joke with my friends, like, you know, when something doesn't go right in their life, I'll say, just remember, God has his plan. You know, it's kind of a joke, but I actually do believe that. I really do. And right, even before the first assassination attempt, everything they threw at this man, Trump still came out on top in a sense. Like, you know, all the stupid lawsuits, like he pretty much, like, they gone away. Like, they, you know what I mean? Like, they come out in a sense in his favor. Like, it just seems like everything that they throw at this man, he still comes out on top. And then if the first attempt didn't solidify this for me, he would have died. I believe if he is not meant to win, he would have died. It's that simple. My sister asked me this the other day. She's not at all into politics. This is the not the crazy one in Colorado, but the other one. And she said to me, "Who do you think he's going to win?" And I said, "Absolutely." And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Because he didn't die."
You know, that was my sense as well. It's Heather. It's funny how we think alike on this. And thank you very much for that call. Look, I said it before. I'll say it again. I think God saved Trump's life. I really do. He should have been killed on that field in Butler. He should be dead right now. He should be 6 feet under the ground. And I do believe God saved him for a reason. And just quickly, because all of you need to hear this, I do believe God has a plan for us. I do. And I'll just give you an example, okay? Quick story. When I was previously at Entercom, the company that previously owned WRKO, and we were in Brighton in Massachusetts, and word came down that they had sold, or whatever, they had fused and merged Entercom and CBS and created this new entity called Odyssey. And, like, what's going to happen to all these stations? Are we going to get bought out? Are we going to be spun off? Is iHeart going to buy us? Are they not going to buy us? And at the time, years ago, I was doing okay under Entercom. And we had a good following, good audience, good ratings. And I was worried. I said, you know what? If iHeart buys this up, this could be the end of the show. It could be the end of WRKO, everything we worked for. I wanted the status quo because at the time, the status quo was looking pretty good for the Kuhner man. And so I remember I prayed to God. I said, please, God, I don't want us to be one of the stations that was spun off. Please, I want to stay with Entercom. I'm afraid if I go to iHeart, this could be the end of the Kuhner Report, my show, and everything we've built. Well, lo and behold, no, we were one of the stations that got bought up by iHeart. And initially I was very worried. And I'm saying, God, why? I don't understand. Why? Why? I don't understand. Why? Well, guess what? Odyssey, Entercom, what it used to be, now that's its new name, it's filed for bankruptcy. It's about to be bought out by George Soros. George Soros, who, by the way, is going to fire every conservative in Odyssey's network and replace them with these liberal hacks. And I'm not trying to stroke iHeart's ego. No one has ever treated me better than iHeart. No one's given me more editorial freedom ever than iHeart. No one's given me more support for the show than iHeart. And in particular, there are two men, Alan and Bill. I mean, there are others, obviously, and I'm not trying to shortchange anybody, but the two people in particular that have had this show's back every step of the way in terms of upper management have been Alan and Bill. And so I can't tell you, like, God has a plan. And you may think you know what you want. You may think you know what's best for you. No, trust me. Because had I stayed behind, had RKO not been sold to iHeart, had we remained at then Entercom, now Odyssey, I would be on the street right now having been fired by George Soros. So sometimes, you don't get what you want because God knows what's best for you. That's the lesson I've learned in my life. So when people say, well, I prayed to God and I prayed and he didn't give me what I want, maybe God is looking out for you. Did you ever think about that? You know the expression, be careful what you wish for, you just may get it? So others who are relieved, aha, we're staying, you guys are being spun out, have a nice life, Kuhner. They're sending their resumes around. They're gone. And, like Trump, I'm not trying to brag, honestly, I'm stronger now than ever. The ratings have never been higher. The show's reach has never been bigger. The movement that we've started and has never been stronger. So again, the hand of God. It may seem bleak at the moment, but in the end, it was the best thing that could ever happen to you. Everything the Democrats have done to Trump has actually made him stronger. And I don't just mean personally as a man, which it has. I mean literally, politically. They resurrected him from the dead after January 6th. Every lawfare case, he went up in the polls. Every assassination attempt, he went up in the polls. Here, I can play you a cut if you want. Fetterman, at the Atlantic Festival, the Atlantic Monthly, the magazine, said, you don't understand. Not only is Trump popular in Pennsylvania, but the assassination attempt at Butler made him even more sympathetic and even more popular. He goes, do you understand? Like everything we do to this guy, the more we persecute him, the stronger he gets. And that's why there's something inside of me that says, it's like the hand of God. It's like, keep persecuting him. The more you persecute, the stronger I will make him. So anyway, that's my unwavering belief. I just believe it. And we will find out on November 5th. But I will tell you this. That song, Fighter, which is now number one on iTunes. This is a pop culture phenomenon. Number one. A song about Trump, about all of his hardships, all of his struggles, obviously culminating with the assassination attempt. And, the song Fighter, he's a fighter. Like, he just keeps fighting, and he won't stop fighting. And he's not going to stop fighting until that last bell rings in that last round. I have such immense respect for this man. For his patriotism, for his courage, his bravery, his resilience, his determination, his grit, frankly, his love for our country. He is a modern-day gladiator and a modern-day warrior. And a lot of people ask me, Jeff, where have all the men gone? John Wayne's America. A man's man. A real man. Look at Donald Trump. Look at Donald Trump. And that's the trait of all of his traits. That's the one that I admire the most because I see my grandfather in him. I see my father in him. No matter what the odds, they never gave up. They never surrendered. And they held a certain honor, a pride. It's not whether you win or lose. As Trump said, look, I come up short. Hey, they steal it. What do you want me to do? No, I'm not going to run again. But I did it because here I am. Here I stand. I can do no other. That's a man. That's an American. 617-266-6868 is the number. Paul in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Paul, and welcome.
Thanks, Jeff, and thanks for everything that you do. And I want to ditto Brooksy. All praise and glory go to my Savior and Lord Jesus Christ, and
Amen.
much praise to my president, Donald John Trump. People don't realize they don't take no for an answer, and that's why I called and said that to Sandy. So Trump has to stick to his guns there and say no more debates. They're rigged. We have to keep on pressing this ABC fiasco. That's how communism starts. They take the media over, and then they take over, and people have to realize communism sometimes is voted in, but it is never, ever voted out. You have to fight your way out of that. And communism does not work. And the New York Times, I don't care what their polls are. I don't read them. I don't watch Fox News anymore. They're compromised with their ownership, like you were just speaking about. So maybe Newsmax, but he doesn't need it. He has the country, like you just said. That song, I just heard it a couple of days ago. It's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful video. They're nothing but class, and unfortunately, the communists are nothing but trash. So thanks for everything that you do, Jeff.
Thank you, Paul. Look, he has the country. I agree with you. I think there's a revival going on. I really do. A political revival, a cultural revival, a moral, spiritual revival. You can see it. Something is stirring in the country, in its soul, in its very heart. And Trump is embodying that. And to me, from now until Election Day, it's more about the steal. It's more about preventing them from stealing it. That's, to me, really the big issue. And, just keep putting the pressure on Harris. Keep doing rallies. Don't stop. Keep running ads. Keep barnstorming, blitzing through all these battleground states. Don't let up. Continue. That endorsement from that Muslim mayor in Dearborn, really huge. Huge. Now, Trump is saying he wants to go to Dearborn. That mayor has invited him. And, Trump, to be fair, his people said, well, I don't know, man, Dearborn, Michigan, are you sure? He goes, you're going to be shocked how many people turn out. He goes, I'm telling you, we will warmly embrace Trump. You will see a massive rally for Trump in Dearborn. You can go right to their stronghold and take it from them. And so he's now planning potentially to do either a campaign stop at a minimum. He said Trump is, and just to show you the kind of guy Trump is, he goes, set up a town hall. I'll talk to them right to their face. They can ask me any question they want. I would rather he do a campaign rally. I mean, I don't care. Whatever he wants is fine. But do a rally right there in Dearborn. In other words, take it right from them. There's their blue wall. Smash it right there. 617-266-6868. Your call's next. 920 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, best audience in the business. Period. Full stop. This is from Barbara. Barbara on Messenger actually corrected me, and she's completely right. She's a transplanted Michigander. So she's originally from Michigan. So even though the town where that, the Muslim mayor who just endorsed Trump over the weekend, even though the town is spelled Hamtramck. So the Kuhner man, being the Kuhner man, I go, okay, Hamtramck. No, that's not how you pronounce it. Barbara corrected me. It's pronounced Hamtramck. So, and as I messaged her back while we were off air, I'm like, where did they get the I from? I mean, there's no I in it. but apparently she thinks it's of Polish origin. It was a Polish stronghold, she says, in her younger years. Well, anyway, thank you for that info, Barbara, because I never want to give people bad information. So it's the town of Hamtramck. Anyway, it's a huge endorsement. It's a seismic shift now in support for Trump in large chunks of the Muslim American, Arab American community in Michigan. And look, if I'm Kamala Harris, yes, I would be panicking. She is panicking, and on this, she's right. She should be panicking. 617-266-6868 is the number. Lines are jammed. Heather in the great state of Maine. Thanks for holding, Heather, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I'm glad that you're feeling better.
I am. Thank you.
That's great. So you just brought up Trump's revival, and it just reminded me of when I was a kid. I was born in 1971. Grew up on the North Shore with one of your other callers, John, who I hear on all the time. Anyway, in a small town in Massachusetts, and I just was reminded this morning of the Carter years and being in line with my mom to get gas and the hostage crisis and seeing the yellow ribbons around all the trees. And, you know, the mortgage rates were through the roof. The inflation was crazy. And then we had the Reagan revival. And that's what Trump reminds me of. He was a man, and, you know, just like what you were saying a minute ago, Reagan was like that too. He was a cowboy, and he saved us. And it just was a great time, I think, in history. But anyway, I just recently moved to Maine from the North Shore, getting away from all that MBTA Healy zoning. But I'm kind of in Massachusetts North in Kittery, and there's Kamala signs everywhere. I am living in a sea of heavily Democratic, uninformed voters led hook, line, and sinker by the propaganda machine. But I just have to mention a couple things. I have a ton of Trump signs out in front of my house. I got to meet him in January. I worked on his campaign in New Hampshire, and it just was like the highlight of my life, one of the highlights of my life. But I've got a ton of signs out, and I can't tell you how many people go by my house and lay on their horn in support. But where I live, there's no Trump signs. And some of my favorites of Kamala are, there's one of her face, she looks pretty, and it just says forward. Okay. I don't know where these people are coming from. The other one is, we won't go back. What, we won't go back to low gas prices? Like, what are these people talking about? They're so stupid. And that, it's
I know, low inflation, low gas, low groceries, a secure border, low crime, peace in the world. We're not, Heather, we're just not going back.
The other one was dictatorship. Oh, democracy or dictatorship?
Yeah.
I think it's virtue signaling, though. They don't know better, and they think it's just because she's a woman or because she's black. They're doing the right thing by putting this sign out. That's my guess, because I can't get my head around it.
Well, Heather, I have to say, it's, you're saying Maine. I'm getting a lot of texts, a lot of emails from people saying they're seeing more Kamala signs in New Hampshire. They're seeing a lot more here in Massachusetts. I'm starting to notice now a real uptick in Kamala signs. Now, the only difference, and I don't know if this should make me feel good or bad, in my neck of the woods, God forbid, I'm telling you, Heather, if there was a civil war, we are going to be ground zero where I live. Because in my neighborhood, it's Trump sign, Kamala sign. Trump sign, Kamala sign. It's house to house, street to street, block to block. When I mean it's 50-50, it is literally 50-50. So all I'm thinking is with my luck, oh, there's going to be a civil war, and this is going to be ground zero. And they'll be shooting at each other through my home. You know what I mean? But I am noticing more Kamala signs. I agree with you. I can just tell you I'm starting to see that more. Now, what I can also tell you is apparently this story broke as well over the weekend. Kamala's campaign are paying attendees $700 a week to attend her rallies. $700 a week. So they're almost like professional rally goers. And that's because she can't get any natural, spontaneous support. You know, you've been to Trump rallies. You know better than anybody, Heather. You spontaneously volunteered to go. It was all voluntary on your part. Not Kamala's people. There's no grassroots. It's all AstroTurf. And I suspect many of those signs, they're activists being paid to put up those signs. Just my opinion. 9:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, very quickly. Bombshell story over the weekend. I'm probably going to get into it in greater detail either tomorrow, Wednesday, because this war now in Lebanon is really starting to heat up. They're hammering each other now. Israel and Hezbollah, I mean, they're going at it. So I don't know. Let me look at the evidence more, but it seems to me now we have a full-blown war between Hezbollah and Israel, which is going to have massive implications for the Middle East and massive implications for the election. So, but I will get to this, I promise, in greater detail. Here is what happened over the weekend. I talked about it on X, if you want to follow me on X. The House Oversight Committee revealed bombshell documents, and really bombshell is the only word, whereby in transcripts, listen now to this, General Mark Milley, you know him, the parade general, that, you know, the guy with all his medals on him, never won a war, lost everything, but's got all these medals. Then the Joint Chiefs of Staff at the time of January 6th, if you remember. Well, in official transcripts under oath, listen now to what Milley admitted. Milley admitted that on January 3rd, 3 days before January 6th, 3 days, he knowingly ignored a request from Donald Trump, remember then the President of the United States, and he admitted, he said, Trump said, there's going to be a lot of protesters. We just had all these riots throughout the summer of 2020. We need to have thousands of National Guard troops and U.S. soldiers stationed at the Capitol to make sure there is no violence whatsoever. Milley deliberately ignored, knowingly ignored Trump's request for additional National Guard and U.S. soldiers. But it's even worse than that. So not only did he know that Trump wanted extra security, he said, "Niet." Just like Nancy Pelosi said, "Niet." Okay, no. But this one, to me, is unforgivable. Unforgivable. When the protests broke out, hell, if you want to call them riots, call them a riot. When January 6th began to break out on the steps of the Capitol, Milley then did the unthinkable. By his own admission now under oath, he then ordered the military be put under his full control. In other words, he directly violated the most sacred principle in our republic, civilian control of the military. He usurped Trump's power and authority, saying that the commander-in-chief no longer gives orders to the military. I give the orders to the military. You don't anymore answer to the president. You answer to me. And he called up senior generals, senior military officers and officials, and told them, while January 6th was taking place, whatever President Trump says, ignore him. Every order now comes through me. I'm the decider, not the president. Now, as I pointed out on X, that's treason. That's literally, I'm not kidding, that's literally the definition of treason. He did something that has never been done in American history. He usurped civilian control of the military. He usurped Trump's legal, lawful, constitutional authority to be the commander-in-chief of the military. And we all know what else he did. And this was also confirmed. It came out, but it was admitted in a book by Woodward and Robert Costa of the Washington Post. He then called Chinese generals, the top brass of the Chinese military, and told them, don't worry, you talk to me, you don't talk to Trump. Now, in the military code, and all of you vets know this better than I do, what Milley did is treason. In the old days, it would be the firing squad. It's naked treason. Now, as I pointed out on X, Milley now needs to be tried. I'm sorry. He needs to have his career when Trump comes to power. See, and this is my larger point. Why do you they fear Trump so much? I'm just giving you a small slice, a small chunk of the massive corruption and abuse of power. They committed crimes on January 6th. Milley, Pelosi, all of them did. Crimes that could land them in jail for the rest of their lives. Crimes that will destroy their careers. That's why they have to keep Trump from winning. That's why they're desperate to stop him at all costs, including, yes, killing and assassinating him. Now, if I'm Trump, and I know he knows this, believe me, he knows this story now. This came from the House Oversight Committee. They have the smoking gun. They have the proverbial smoking gun. They've got the transcripts. They've got Milley's testimony right there in black and white, under oath. Trump should revive his career. Trump, when he comes back to power, should say, no, you're no longer retired. I'm unretiring you. And then try him for treason and sedition. And throw the book at this SOB. Because what he did was utterly inexcusable. Inexcusable. It is treason. And there was a cabal. And let me make one final point. Not only did they steal the election from Trump, and now it's crystal clear. Who's the dictator now? And I'm not saying this to make a rhetorical point. What is it when a military strongman, and that's what Milley was, acting on behalf of plotters like Pelosi and Joe Biden and Barack Obama, to overthrow a legitimately elected president of the United States in a stolen election, and then turn around and say, I'm taking over the military. The commander-in-chief no longer controls the military. I control the military. The only authority they should recognize is mine. The only orders they should follow is mine. That's a military takeover. That's a junta. That's a military dictatorship. And as Senator Chuck Grassley said, and man was he livid, and Congressman Jim Banks of Indiana, same point. Usurping civilian control of the military strikes, their words, not mine, because I don't use the word democracy, I use the word republic, they use democracy. Strikes at the very heart of our democracy. It is a sacred American principle. And these SOBs violated it, and violated it with impunity. And here's the cherry on the sundae. Milley deliberately withheld that information from investigators for years. He withheld it from Congress for years. He withheld it from the media for years. That Judas knew that he was a traitor, knew that he broke the law, knew that he sabotaged Trump, and thought he could hide it and get away with it. Now you know why they can't have Trump come back to power. I'm just giving you one chunk of the massive web of corruption. That's what they fear, not just being exposed, but being held accountable for. That's what Trump threatens. And that's what needs to be exposed and dismantled for the whole country to see how deep the rot goes if we're going to take our country back. The people who installed a temporary military dictatorship are the ones who say Trump is the threat to democracy. As Heather recently said, some of the signs in Maine, democracy or dictatorship. The only ones who engaged in a dictatorship were the Democrats. And we've got the transcripts, we've got the documents, we've got the confessions to prove it. 9:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Bob in the Freedom State, Florida. Thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Bob.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, great. It's lots of Trump signs down here. Lots of Trump signs and flags. I want to talk to you about the that thing you opened up in the morning with what was it?
The whistleblower at ABC News who said they completely rigged the debate?
Right. Well, I wanted to kind of fact check you, just to see the whole story on it. And it took me a good half an hour before I ever found it. I went through Breitbart. I went through a Drudge Report. I went through your old paper, Washington Times. I even went to New York Post. And I couldn't find it until I Googled whistleblower, and it popped up. You know who's behind that, though? Who broke that story? You know who broke that story?
Well, wasn't it Black Insurrectionist on X? I believe that's my understanding, right? And then he got a copy of the affidavit?
There is Laura Loomer. She broke the story. That's what they said on the internet.
No, she didn't. That's not true. And in fact, you can, Bob, go read Adam Mill, M-I-L-L, at Chronicles Magazine. Adam Mill, M-I-L-L, at Chronicles. I used to work at Chronicles. This is before I went to the Washington Times. They're a very good conservative magazine. I mean, I don't agree with them on everything, but some of their stuff is excellent. And some of their reporting is superb. And Adam Mill has got a copy of the affidavit. And so, no, they're trying to discredit that. But anyway, the point is, Bob, the affidavit is there. It's been authenticated. And ABC is giving non-denial denial. They cannot deny the central accusations because, as Adam Mill points out, she signed the affidavit and mailed it prior to the debate. So, she says, watch, they're going to fact-check Trump. They're not going to fact-check Kamala. Watch, certain questions are going to be out of bounds. Watch, it's going to be 3-on-1. Watch. And then she has a copy of the sample questions. And she said, I'm telling you, these sample questions are going to resemble very closely the actual questions that will be asked. So look at the ABC response, Bob. They have an unnamed spokesperson who gives a very, very tepid statement. He won't even go on the record. So it's obvious they're covering up something because there was collusion. And that's why I'm urging for a congressional investigation. I mean, all they got to do, frankly, is just subpoena the whistleblower. And once you get the whistleblower, she'll break the story wide open. But anyway, I digress. Go ahead, Bob. The floor is yours.
The laptop and everything against, Biden, why they should be carrying this. Let the people know. I mean, I thought this was I was so happy in this morning. I thought this was the straw that broke the camel's back. Bam, we got it. And then I read into this and I says, oh God, they're going to bury this story.
Well, yeah, you see, because Laura Loomer pushed the story. She didn't break the story, but she said, hey, look at this. And so the media then says, oh, it's a Laura Loomer story. Oh, you can't believe anything she says. She's a conspiratorial nut job. But it wasn't Laura Loomer who broke the story. So that's the game they play. No, look, let's see what Fox News is made of. Honestly, let's see what the New York... I subscribe to the New York Post. I get it at my door every day. I get a bunch of papers at my door every single day. New York Post is one of them. Some of their reporting is excellent. I mentioned Miranda Devine. I think she's great. But let's see what the New York Post is made of. Let's see what Fox is made of. What are they afraid of? That's your job. Do some reporting. You have an affidavit signed by a whistleblower who mailed it to her lawyer before the actual debate. And everything that she said in the affidavit turned out to be true. So, find out who the whistleblower is, or better yet, put pressure on Republicans to issue subpoenas. Let's get ABC News executives on the record and subpoena every single document. Let the truth come out. It'll bury ABC News and it'll bury Kamala Harris.
I was just wondering. One other thing too is, I don't know if it was you or not. I think it might have been you. I remember this is another story that got buried. Remember when the first shooter, the first assassin, it was reported that he had at least one offshore account, but we never heard anything about that, anything more.
Oh, that's a very good point. No, we haven't heard anything about that. In fact, now what we're hearing is apparently, you're talking about the one in Butler, right? In Butler, Pennsylvania, Thomas Crooks. Bob, now we're hearing that apparently he was tracking and surveilling Trump, following Trump for a month. That apparently he was stalking him from event to event, rally to rally, looking for the right moment to strike. Which begs the question, how would he know all of Trump's movements? Many of this is not scheduled. Like the golf, the game of golf that he was playing when there was the assassination attempt. So, the more questions are raised, the more the media tries to bury the story. Look, I'll never forget Monica Lewinsky. NBC News had that story. The media had the Monica Lewinsky story. They didn't want to run with it. That's what made the Drudge Report. That's what made his name and reputation. Drudge said, to hell with it. You guys won't go with it? I will. And that made his name and reputation. Unfortunately, Drudge sold out 4 years ago, and he's now become a rabid, never anti-Trumper. Anyway, I gotta go. Bye-bye.